Hello, my name is Carrie, and welcome to Wearables and Shareables. Today I'm going to be getting you started on the Mezzo Cardigan by Make and Do Crew. This pattern is available for free on the Make and Do Crew website, or you can purchase it off of Etsy. I did purchase the pattern, and then I had it bound at my local UPS or FedEx store. Now, because the pattern is copyrighted and it's 33 pages long, I'm not going to be showing you every word of this pattern. Please check out the links below to get yourself the pattern from either their website or purchase it ad-free off of Etsy. I am going to be showing you the first couple of rounds though, just to help you get started. In the pattern, it says to start your rounds by chaining 4. So I'll chain 4 here, and then you need to slip stitch to the first chain in order to join it and make a round. Now that leaves me with this little hole here that I need to work my double crochet stitches into. But for me, I'd rather use a magic circle technique to get my pattern started. So let me show you how I like to make the magic circle. First, I take my tail of yarn and just lay it across my open palm. You can see here that the length is just the width of my hand, so maybe 3 or 4 inches. I don't measure it, it usually works out okay. Then I'm going to take my thumb and just pinch it down so that the yarn is trapped between my thumb and my index finger here. Next, I need to take this long tail of yarn that leads back to my yarn ball or skein, and I'm going to wrap it around behind my 2 fingers here. I'll take that yarn, make an X over the top of the strand that we started with, and I'll trap that X with my thumb. Next, I'll turn my hand over, and I'll take this long tail of yarn and just slip it between my ring finger and my pinky. So let's do that again. I just take the yarn, lay it on my open hand, hold it down so it doesn't escape, take this long tail, wrap it around my first 2 fingers, and then cross it over to make an X under my thumb. Then I'll flip my hand, tuck that tail between my pinky and ring finger, and now I have set up to make my magic circle. I'm going to insert my hook under the first strand so that I can grab this second strand of yarn. I'll pull it out, and I want to give it a little twist. This is going to be the start of the slip knot on our hook. Next, I want to take this strand that's running from the base of my hook here over to my ring finger. I'm going to pick up a strand of yarn from there and pull it through the loop on my hook. Now my magic circle is complete. I just need to get my fingers out of there. And you can see that I have my slip knot here, my long tail of yarn leading to my ball, and that short tail of yarn that we started with. This is going to be the tail that cinches everything down when we're ready. So quickly one more time, we'll put the yarn in our palm, trap it down, wrap it around, cross it over, tuck it in. Take your hook, insert it under the first strand, grab the second strand, and the important part is giving it that twist. You'll see there's a little X working underneath my hook here. Grab this strand of yarn all the way over here and pull it through the loop on your hook. Then you can take your fingers out and you've got the start of a magic circle. Now in the Mezzo Cardigan pattern, it starts by either making that chain of 4 or the magic circle and then doing a chain 3. 1, 2, 3. And you can see there, I didn't count that strand that was initially on my hook because really it's just my slip knot. Then what I need to do is work sets of 3 double crochets that are separated by a chain of 1. So I'll have 3 double crochet, chain 1, 3 double crochet, chain 1, 3 double crochet, chain 1. There are going to be 6 sets of 3. And like I said, they're separated by chain 1s. In our first set, this initial chain of 3 counts as our first double crochet. The important thing here is that we're making a hexagon. So we are going to have 6 corners, and those chain 1s are going to make our corners, and then the 3 double crochets in between are going to make the sides of our hexagon. So the way that I like to count it is to count in sets instead of counting the individual double crochets. So I've got the start of my first set of 3. So I'm going to count that as set 1A. When I make my first double crochet, I'm going to count this as set 1B. I'll make another. This will be set 1C. Now I have my first set of double crochets complete. That chain 1 counted as our first double crochet. Then we had 2 and 3. Here's my first set of double crochets, and I'm going to separate them or make my first corner space with a chain 1. When I go to count set 2, I'll count 2A, 2B, and 2C. Now, sometimes when you're working into a magic circle, things can get a little loosey-goosey. So I'll show you how I like to hold my magic circle so that it's steady enough for me to crochet into. Since I tension my yarn around my ring finger, and I'll show you how I do that, I usually just lay the yarn over my ring finger, give my hand a twist, and then I sneak my index finger under this strand, because that gives me a nice tight strand here that I can grab onto with my hook. That also leaves my middle finger and thumb able to touch here. So what I do is I hold my circle with my middle finger and my thumb, and then just for a little extra stability, sometimes I pop my ring finger into the circle and just pull down on it a little bit. So I've got sort of like a little tripod action happening here. I've got the circle being held with my thumb and my middle finger, and then I can provide a little extra tension with that ring finger. And tension is pretty important in crochet, so if you can try to do it the same way every time, whatever way that is, that will help make sure your project comes out the appropriate size. So I'm going to get ready to do my chain 1 so that I can work my third set of 3 double crochets. So this is set 3A, 3B, 3C. And counting A, B, C just lets me know that I did all 3 of the double crochets that are needed for that set. Chain 1, and we'll work set 4A, 4B, and 4C. Chain 1, set 5. So 5A, 5B, and 5C. Now I'm working rather quickly my double crochets because we have a lot to get through here, but of course you can slow this video down in the playback speed, and if you need a tutorial on how to do a double crochet, there are many on YouTube. Chain 1, and I'm going to work my last set. So this is going to be set 6A, 6B, and 6C. And you can see here on my magic circle that all of my double crochets are sort of hanging out at the top. In order to make this into a circle or a round, I need to take my short tail of yarn and cinch it down tight. So I'm just pulling it. And if you've made your magic circle the right way, it should cinch down so that there's just a very small hole here at the center. Now I'm going to join my last double crochet with that initial chain of 3. We're going to join it in the third or the top chain. So sometimes it can be a little twisted and hard to see where things are, but you can count 1, 2, 3, and in the top one, I'm going to insert my hook, pull up a strand of yarn, and pull it through to make a slip knot. Now this is the right side of our work, meaning that it's the side that's going to be showing to people when we wear the cardigan. To work round 2, we need to be on the wrong side. This pattern is worked in turned rounds. So instead of continuing around in the circle in our counterclockwise direction, we want to turn the work before we continue. And I'll know that this is the wrong side because that tail of yarn is sticking out from the center. Or you can put a stitch marker somewhere on the front so that you'll know the right side from the wrong side. To get started with round 2, I'll chain 3, and then I'm going to work my first corner. Each corner in rounds 1 through 7 of the Mezzo Cardigan pattern is worked exactly the same. So when you come to a corner space, you're always going to do 2 double crochets, chain 2, and 2 more double crochets on the other side. And that's going to give us sort of a wedge shape that will form our corner. Now for this second round, finding the first corner space can be a little bit tricky. It's where we did our last chain 1 on the round below. And if you just pull these stitches apart right underneath your chain of 3, you'll find that space here. It's this big gap. So we're going to work 2 double crochets, chain 2, 2 double crochets into this same space to form our first corner. So let's do that now. 1 double crochet, 2 double crochets, chain 2, and 2 more double crochets into that same space. So now we've worked our first corner. You can see there's quite a hole here. That's from our chain 2, and that's how we're going to count and know that we have 6 corners to form a hexagon instead of 5, which would only make a pentagon. Now what I need to do is crochet across the top of these 3 double crochets before I get to the chain 1 space that separates our sets of double crochets. So what I'm going to do is just double crochet until I get to my next corner, which in this case for round 2 is just 3 across. 1, 2, and 3. Now I'm at my next corner. That's that chain 1 space from the row below, round below. And again, I'm going to work 2 double crochets, 1 double crochet, 2 double crochet, a chain of 2, that's what's actually making the corner shape, and 2 more double crochets into the very same space. And you can see here now that I'm starting to see my 2 corners come to life. 1 corner, 2 corner. I'll work 3 double crochets across the top of this next set. So here's 1, 2, 3. I'm at my next corner, so I know I need to work my corner stitches, which is always going to be 2 double crochets, chain 2, and 2 more double crochets into that very same space. Okay, now I've worked 3 corners, 1, 2, and 3, and they're each separated by 3 double crochets in between. Okay, so we'll continue until we get to the start of our round. So I've got to work 3 double crochets for this side. 1, 2, 3. I'm at my next corner, so I need to work my corner stitches. 1 double crochet, 2 double crochet, chain 2, 2 double crochets again into that corner, and now I've worked my 4th corner. 1, 2, 3, and 4. I'll work my 3 double crochets till I get to my next corner. 1, 2, and 3. I'm at my corner space, so I'll work my corner stitches. Double crochet 1, double crochet 2, chain 2, and double crochet 2 more to finish up my corner on this side. Just want to make sure that little tail in the center doesn't get mixed up with my working yarn. I'll work my 3 more double crochets. 1, 2, and 3. And now I'm at my final corner space right here. When I work this corner, I should have 6 corners total in my project. So 2 double crochets, chain 2, and of course 2 more double crochets. All right, so let's count and make sure I have the correct number of corners. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay, let me just double check that with you. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. All right, the next thing is that when we did our first round, we had 3 double crochets in between each corner. But as we move up to the second round, we have essentially added 4 double crochets to each side because you have the second half of this corner here and the first half of this corner over here. So if I count my double crochets, I should now have 7 in between each corner. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. And then if I were to switch to another side, I should have 7 over here as well. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So in round 1, we had 3 double crochets between each corner. In round 2, we have 7 double crochets between each corner. Okay, so when we come to joining the work over here at the end of our round, we need to make sure that we have 7 double crochets. Sometimes people end up with 8, and sometimes they only end up with 6. So right now I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So I need to work 2 more double crochets. Here's 1, and here is the second one. So in order to make sure I have 7 on each side so that all the sides of my hexagon are equal, I want to make sure and count them so that I have 7 between each corner. All right, so that should have been 6 and 7. Then I'll go to the top of my chain 3 again, insert my hook here, draw through and through to make a slip knot. I'll chain 3 so I can move up to round 3. I'm going to turn back so that I'm working the right side. Remember, the right side is the side that faces out, and the wrong side is the side that's going to be worn on your body. Round 3 will be back on the right side, and I'm just going to crochet until I get to my first corner. Double crochet across all the stitches until I get to my first corner. Double crochet, and last one before I reach my first corner, and my corner stitches are the same. I'll do my 2 double crochets, my chain 2, and my 2 double crochets. Now, just like the row below, we're going to be adding 4 double crochets to each side now. So on the row below, we had 7 double crochets between our corners, and now we're going to be looking for 11 double crochets. So if you think about it, you can kind of split the corners in half so that one half goes with this side and one half stays with the previous side. Because really the corner is this chain 2 in between our sets of 2 double crochets. So what I mean by that is when I start counting to make sure I have the correct number of double crochets, I can count them like this. 1, 2, and then I'll continue counting as I work across. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Now I'm going to work the next part of my corner here. So I'll have 10 and 11 before I do my chain 2. And then I can count the next side. So I'll count that by doing my 2 double crochets to finish off my corner. 1, 2 into that corner space. Crochet across the top of all of these. So that should be 3, 4, 5, 6. I've got sort of a mess of yarn happening underneath me here. Let me straighten that out. 7, 8. Number 9 is going to be the last double crochet before I get to my corner. And here I am at my corner. So this is going to be 10 and number 11. Okay, so you should have 11 double crochets between your corners on each side for round 3. Now continue working around. Every time you get to a corner, you'll do your 2 double crochets, chain 2 and 2 double crochets into the same space. And when you count, there should be 11 on each side. So go ahead and work until we get to the next join. I need my chain 2 here and my 2 double crochets. So the nice thing is you don't really have to count, as long as you know that you're hitting each of the double crochets across each side and then working your 2 double crochets, chain 2, 2 double crochet into each corner space. And every time you move up around, you'll be increasing the number of double crochets by 4. So when you're following your pattern, it will tell you that by the end of round 7, you should have 27 double crochets on each side or in between each corner space. There should be 27 crochets. And at that point, it's going to prompt you to do a gauge check to make sure that you're using the appropriate hook size to follow the rest of the pattern. Now, everyone crochets slightly differently and with a little bit different tension. I tend to be a pretty loose crocheter, so if I followed the hook suggestion in the pattern, my project would come out very, very large and probably wouldn't fit very well. So for me, I know that I need to go down at least 1 hook size in order to make the pattern work out for me. But for you, if you're a very tight crocheter, you may need to use a hook size larger than what is suggested just to make things work out. Now, all this information, of course, is contained in the Mezzo Cardigan pattern, but if you have any questions, reach out. I'm always happy to help. I'm just working around my double crochets, and when I get to my corner, I'm doing my corner stitches. So for me, it's sort of easier to think about just double crocheting across the side and then doing my corner stitches. And of course, I can count them the way I showed you, where 1/2 of each corner belongs to a side. So as I come around here to my next corner, I'll do my 2 double crochet, my chain 2, and my 2 double crochet to finish off that corner. Now, when you're coming around to where you need to join, it's very important that you count and make sure that you have the correct number. So if I start over here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So I know that I need to use these 2 stitches, but I don't need to go into this stitch at the base of my initial chain 3. That would give me 12 on this side, and I only want 11. So that's 9, 10, and number 11. Before we get to join at the top of our chain 3, we'll turn the work, chain 3 to begin round 4. Now for rounds 4 through 7, you're just going to be doing the same thing. You'll work a double crochet into the top of each double crochet from the round below, and then you'll work those corner stitches as we have been, which of course is to do 2 double crochet, 1 and 2 in my corner here, chain 2, and do 2 more double crochets. Now the nice thing about this pattern is that you're going to be working 2 identical hexagons before we fold things and seam them to make the actual cardigan. So once you've finished with the first 7 rounds of your pattern, do the gauge checking according to the pattern directions, and then go ahead and work your second hexagon up to the same point so that you can check and make sure your hexagons are the same. Now you'll see here that my hexagon doesn't lay flat. It really wants to sort of join itself already into that hexagon or into my cardigan shape. So it's wavy, that's totally fine. And at a certain point in the pattern, what we're going to be doing is folding this hexagon over. That's going to create the shape of our cardigan. So it's a nice little preview here where we're going to have the sleeve, and then this will be 1/2 of the back. We'll make 1 seam up the back, and then of course the hexagon on the other side will fill in the rest of our sweater. So this is a really cool technique. It's easy to do. All you need to do is make sure that you have those 6 corners and that each of your sides is the same, has the same number of double crochets, and try to keep your tension the same so that your 2 hexagons will be the same in the end as well. So keep working until you get 27 double crochets, and be sure to turn your work in between rounds. So when we started, we were on the right side. Round 2, we went to the wrong side. Round 3, we came back to the right side. And round 4, we're going to be back on the wrong side again. All right, I hope this helps, and enjoy making your Mezzo cardigan.